Good evening. Well, we have, I think, a proper Labour civil war. Keir Starmer's position is now more perilous than it's been at any point. And I have a feeling that things are beginning to spiral out of control quite quickly. Just have a look at Labour MP Clive Lewis and what he had to say.
Is Andy Burnham up for this?
You have to ask Andy Burnham.
Have you spoken to him?
I have spoken to Andy Burnham, yeah.
But I'm not sure if he wants to move to Norwich, but would you would you give up your seat for him?
It's a question I've asked myself, and I'd have to obviously consult with my wife as well and family. But you know what? If I'm going to sit here and say, country before party, party before personal ambition, then yes, I have to say yes, don't I?
You give up your seat for Andy Burnham?
I would, yeah.
Clive Lewis is prepared to stand down in, well, I say relatively safe Labour seat, what is these days, but he's prepared to stand aside, cause a by-election to let Andy Burnham in. And Angela Rayner is on manoeuvres. Now, she was on the verge, I understand, of going into I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, which, of course, is a topic about which I know very much, having been there 2 years ago. At the last minute, she has withdrawn. I wonder why. I wonder whether she thinks this could all spiral out of control very, very quickly indeed. And I thought, and I'm not always a fan, but I thought Danny Finkelstein of the Times today got it right. Starmer is in a weak position, and everyone knows it. His weakness is mutual knowledge. By briefing about his position, this was the operation in Number 10 last week, his team turned that mutual knowledge into common knowledge. Now everyone knows that everyone knows that everyone knows his leadership is on the rocks, and this is an important change in his status. I'm going to ask you this question, simple question to you in the audience. Is Starmer on the way out? Tweet hashtag Farage on GB News or email farage@gbnews.com. You know what? None of us know. I just have, and by the way, I wouldn't put it above 35%, but I just begin to feel that there's no love for this leader, there's no support for this leader, there's no following for this leader, and that's within the Parliamentary Labour Party, let alone his own net minus 51% ratings in the country. And if the budget was to land very, very badly in 7 days' time, well, things could happen, in my view, more quickly than we think. I'm joined down the line by Sean Woodward, former Labour Cabinet Minister under Gordon Brown. Sean, you've been in politics forever. You've seen difficult times for leaders. There's nothing particularly unusual in that. But is Lord Finkelstein right in that something quite important has changed in the last week?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is a Prime Minister under enormous pressure, Nigel. And I think, that to some extent that goes with the territory. Margaret Thatcher faced it. And again, we always remember Margaret Thatcher in the context of winning all of those elections. But of course, just a year after she won in 1979, she was in real trouble with her party. John Major, he had his bastards. Gordon Brown can tell you the story of how difficult it was. And Tony Blair had his problems too. And we can go through history. So this happens to prime ministers. I think there are a couple of really important points here. The most important one probably is how Keir Starmer actually handles this. It's not that it isn't a surprise that it's happened to Keir Starmer. It's probably a surprise it's happened quite so quickly to Keir Starmer, given the scale of the victory last year. But it's not unusual that it happens. How he wears it, how he handles it, is the real test right now. And yes, there is all this speculation, and Clive Lewis very generously saying that he's happy to move house from Norwich to the House of Lords or whatever it is that might affect that. But of course, he'd have to win the seat that he might be vacating for Andy Burnham. And I dare say the leader of Reform might have a view about that, or indeed the leader of Reform might decide that actually what they want to do is to provide nobody up against that. So it might be that you might want to facilitate that to happen. But at the end of the day, the big question that the Labour Party is going to be asking itself, if it were to even do that, is will it unite under a different leader right now? And are things so bad they can't be got right? And that's why I think two things are really important. The first is, how does Keir Starmer wear these challenges? Look at Margaret Thatcher as a good example of somebody who wore them rather well. She enjoyed these moments. Will he? The second thing, and you are absolutely on the money here, the budget. You get that budget right next week. And the right doesn't mean everybody says it's wonderful. Right means, are those the ingredient that will actually allow the British economy to recover? Get it wrong next week, and then I think we could be in very serious trouble. And we might do something that was actually a really bad idea, which is to have a leadership contest. And I don't think that, as it were, is in anybody's interest. I don't think it's in the country's interest. But very clearly things are febrile, and very clearly the decisions that Rachel Reeves is in charge of the Treasury, of course, but the first Lord of the Treasury is the Prime Minister.
Yeah, and that's a point many people forget. Sean, thank you for your
My pleasure.
analysis. Well, Sean Woodward has seen a few bruising battles, both in his time with the Conservative and Labour parties, and somebody who has lived through some bruising times is, of course, Kwasi Kwarteng, the former Chancellor of the Exchequer and Conservative Member of Parliament. I'm joined also in the studio by Lord Maurice Glasman, leader of Blue Labour. Now, you've lived through these crises. When they really begin, they can move at pace, can't they?
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is about leadership speculation is that once it starts, it never really goes away. I mean, I saw that with Theresa May. I saw that with Boris, obviously Liz, and that quick premiership that ended. And even with Sunak. I mean, one of the reasons, if you look back, that one of the reasons that people said he'd called the election was he was worried that there might be a contest. And that was one of the, I mean, I'm not sure how plausible that is, but it was definitely one of the things that was mentioned in the context of why on earth did he call the election when he did. And historians will discuss that for many years. But one of the things I heard was that he was seriously worried that, the Tory MPs would come after him. The last thing I'd say about it, obviously, we as Tories had a process that made it very easy, almost too easy, to get rid of leaders.
It was fratricidal.
That's right. That's right. Whereas with Labour, there isn't actually a process.
No.
I have no doubt if they had our rules, Starmer would have been gone.
Yeah.
But they don't, and he's got more security, job security in that regard.
He's got more
than Tory Prime Ministers did.
Whether he has enough. Maurice, the bizarre thing about all of this is, of course we're speculating, but it looks like the number 10 briefings against Streeting in particular, it looks like number 10, by saying there's a challenge and we're not moving anywhere, have actually themselves caused what now looks like a crisis with Clive Lewis going on television.
Sure.
Is this number 10 getting it all not even Starmer himself, but the team getting it wrong?
The answer is I don't think so here. I'm going to take a stubborn position. Last Tuesday night, I was with Morgan McSweeney. I want people to know from 6:30 till 8. We were talking about defence issues.
It's not confessional. I mean, it's all right.
And what I'm saying is he didn't, the game, he didn't look at his phone once. None of this was mentioned when we were talking. I mean, we were together, and that's when they said he did the briefing. So I can say to your viewers...
But the briefing
No, 1 second. I can say to your viewers that this isn't the case. Now, what I know is the tactics of New Labour, both Blair and Brown, which was to create artificial crises in order to make their moves. Sean Woodward was an absolute master of what we call the drive-by shooting and all this stuff. And McBride is still in that mix. But Tom Baldwin, I want to particularly name who's on Tim Allen's payroll as a serial plotter and a hater.
Tim Allen, a central number 10 figure.
Yeah, so Tim Allen has got Tom Baldwin on the payroll. Tom Baldwin is a Remain truther, he's an ex-cokehead Remain truther. He hates Brexit and he sees, for some reason, Morgan McSweeney...
By the way, cokeheads can recover fully.
They can, of course.
Yeah.
But to go from that to a Remain truther is a really... he thought that Brexit was all misinformation and disinformation and Russian interference. Nigel, you remember the scene.
Yeah, I know it very well.
Right, so what I think happened is that they botched it. All I know that the Morgan McSweeney said was if there's a leadership challenge, of course, the Prime Minister is going to challenge it, which is a normal thing to say. So I think this is a fuss over nothing, this particular...
Well, no, I mean, you can't just brush it away. Look,
no, I'm not,
what happened last week...
I'm not brushing it away. What I'm saying is this whole thing last week about the briefing was concocted.
Okay.
What there is widespread disaffection with the lack of direction and weak leadership. That is for sure.
For now, let's bury the source.
Yeah, I just felt I had to respond to that with what I know.
Maurice, we listen to you and we believe you, absolutely. But somebody else in number 10 could have done it, you know.
Definitely.
If it wasn't
there was a briefing. You can't say it didn't happen.
Something happened somewhere. But here's the point. I saw Angela Rayner.
Oh, really?
Last night in the House of Commons, surrounded by a bigger entourage than I've ever seen.
Of course, yeah.
You know, she hasn't gone in the jungle.
No.
And she could have done with the money because she's got a bit of a tax bill to pay, as we all know.
40 grand.
So I heard. I don't know. I can't confirm that. That's just hearsay. There was no briefing.
No, that is not hearsay. She has a tax bill to pay, and she knows it. You've got Clive Lewis doing what he's doing. And I have to tell you, when Starmer walked into PMQs today, the cheers for the leader were very, very hollow indeed. My argument is this could spiral quite quickly.
Yeah, and I don't think it. I'm just saying. Look, Kwasi, your party is infected by a disease which is called leadership conversation night and day.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever
but you're
I
having
meet
it
Conservative,
now. You can't deny that.
What I'm saying is, Labour is on the whole much more reluctant to.
Yeah, historically.
But what about now?
Yeah. So what we have is.
You've never had a Labour Prime Minister with popularity levels, or should I say unpopularity levels like this.
This is huge. We're in. I mean, we talked about this in the US. We're in a new era, and it's volatile. It's very volatile. I can believe. I'm not suggesting that. Look, what people are crying out for. There's two factors. What people are crying out for is a sense of direction. Just a sense of direction.
Not getting from Keir Starmer.
Okay, but then what happened yesterday, or 2 days ago rather, is that Shabana Mahmood stood up in the House of Commons and put forward a position on restricting immigration that would have been called racist even a year ago by most Labour MPs. So not only do they have the sense of direction they're beginning to get is absolutely nightmarish for someone like Andy Burnham or any of the soft left new Labour crowd who believed in globalisation as you did, Kwasi, and free trade, and all the things that Thatcher brought us. They were completely brought up to that. So what is emerging is a counter direction. Sovereignty, secure the borders. What you saw 2 days ago with Shabana Mahmood was the first bit of Labour post.
But that's
freaking them out. What I'm saying is, someone like Clive Lewis, this freaks them out.
That may be an even stronger reason to get rid of the leader.
Yeah, but they've got no.
You've got deputies doing a.
So look, I think
they've got no candidate. They're
trying to say there's nothing to see here, but clearly there is. There was a briefing last week.
Yeah.
It almost certainly came from number 10. Wes Streeting certainly believed it came from number 10.
Yeah.
And the effect of the briefing, as Danny Finkelstein said today, is that it's made things worse. It hasn't. And I get where they're thinking. They're people with little experience, and they say we're going to smoke out the leadership challenge. That's what they were thinking. They briefed against it. And it made the situation worse. Now, you can wave away and say, there's nothing to see here, it's all fine. But actually, I think Nigel is right. I think Danny Finkelstein's right. There is a big problem here. It won't go away very easily.
I can't agree.
And I think the Prime Minister's in trouble.
I can't agree with the
see what
sentence
happens.
that says Nigel Finkelstein and Nigel.
Nigel and Danny Finkelstein. They are right. They're both right about this. The Prime Minister's in danger.
One thing I'm certain of is, Houston, we have a problem.
In the end, what we're witnessing inside the Labour Party is no ordinary wobble, it's a leadership crisis growing in real time. Clive Lewis publicly offering to give up his seat, Angela Rayner stepping back from the spotlight, senior figures openly questioning direction, and rumours swirling about number 10 briefings, all of it paints a picture of a party losing confidence in its own leader. Keir Starmer's authority is being tested from every angle, his popularity is falling, his MPs are restless, and the upcoming budget could either steady the ship or sink it faster. Political history shows that once leadership speculation begins,
if you found this analysis
it rarely
useful,
fades quietly.
don't forget to like, share,
The question
and
now
subscribe.
is not just whether Starmer can
so you
survive
never
this
miss
moment,
our next
but whether the
political
Labour
update.
Party itself can avoid a full-blown internal collapse. So I'll leave you with this. Is Keir Starmer's leadership already damaged beyond repair, or can he still turn this crisis around?